This is Emmylou Penrod, and my guest today is my best friend and husband of 46 years, David Penrod. David, welcome.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I look forward to our interview.
Yes, we've collaborated on several projects over the years, haven't we?
We
I-
have indeed.
Yes. I've made the observation and discovered it true of myself as well that quite often we become irritated and frustrated with the differences that you will find in a marriage between two unique individuals. And over time, I have learned that it's much more beneficial to learn from those differences, to get a different perspective, find out what you can learn about your spouse rather than being annoyed that they're not exactly like you. And as I've spent some time reflecting on this, David, I've come up with 5 lessons. There are more, but today I want to talk about 5 things I have learned from you that I think have helped me in my life. And the first is commitment. I remember when we were engaged, one time, just out of the blue, you said, "So which terms of endearment do you prefer?" And I thought that was a really funny question until I realized that was your way of saying, "I want to treat you the way you want to be treated." That indicated to me that you cared. And I thought, that's sweet. And then, do you remember that time we went on a bus tour to New York City? And it was a very long day. We had the drive up and from Maryland and then the drive back. And I remember becoming very cross and tired and irritated and taking it out on you and just really lashing out at you, having one of those silly quarrels over nothing that you sometimes do when you haven't been married very long, and saying some really nasty, rude things to you just before I flounced onto the bus. And then as I sat down, I felt just really bad and thought, oh no, now he's not even going to sit with me. But you did. You walked on the bus and you walked down and you sat right next to me. And then it hit me that for you, this wasn't just a silly junior high crush kind of a thing. This was a commitment, a promise you had made to be with me, to help me and to serve me, and to be loyal to me. And it was very humbling. It made me realize that I needed to deepen my commitment to you and treat you with a little more appreciation. So that was a profound lesson for me. Do you remember that?
I don't remember trying to teach you a lesson. I just remember that I knew that we had been through a lot that day, and that when someone is tired, they're not at their best. And I just was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Well, that was great. That was very kind. Now, do you remember the time you were in college? We'd started our family, and you were working full time, going to school full time. We were just in that struggling phase, trying to keep afloat. And I was trying to help out by sewing clothes for our children, and had recently found out that there was going to be a fabric sale. I went to you saying, is there any extra money? Could I go get some material at this fabric sale? And you just whipped out your wallet, opened it up, and held the whole thing out to me like, take everything I have. And that really touched me, that generosity, that all that I have is yours. And as I thought about that, I realized it wasn't just money. You were also generous with yourself, your time, anything you learned, your talents. You were generous with helping me. And that's another very profound lesson I learned from you.
Well, I'm glad I was useful for some things there. But yes, I did not want to hold anything back. I figured you shared with me when I had problems that I needed to address, and anything that I obtained in business or whatever, I was more than happy to share with you.
It was always a partnership, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I remember you teaching our children that you don't go into it, it's not a 50-50, because there are times when maybe one partner can't reach their full 50%, and then there's a gap in the middle.
Absolutely.
Do you remember what you taught them?
Just that whenever you have two people trying to do 50-50, you never meet in the middle. It's only when you are willing to give your all that you can come close to meeting the other person because of our perspectives, If I were just going for 50%, my perspective would be a bit short of the 50-yard line, and yours would be a bit short of your 50-yard line, so there is that gap in the middle. So we have to be willing to commit more, whatever it takes, not just 50-50.
And speaking of parenting, you also taught me a lot there. You were the oldest in your family growing up. Your mother told me you had been taking care of babies since you were about 8 or 9 years old. I was the youngest in my family and hadn't had that much experience. And I remember how much help you were especially with our first baby.
Yeah, there were times that I knew you'd had a rough day. You'd had plenty worn out during the day, and when the baby would wake up at night and need to nurse, I was more than happy to get up, change his diaper, hand him to you, and let you take care of your part without having to get out of bed.
Didn't we have an arrangement? We acknowledged you had to get up and go to work every day. This was during a time when I could be a stay-at-home mother, and we made the agreement that I would get up with them on weekdays and you got up with them on the weekend.
Yeah, we specifically did that during those times when I was stressed, but I thought it was very important that you got some break and some downtime and some you time.
Yes, and I appreciated that. And I'm remembering that when I knew you were on duty, I didn't even wake up. I didn't even hear them.
But you took care of so many things. One thing I appreciated about you is you seemed to have the commitment and even acted like you enjoyed changing messy diapers, and that was one thing I didn't really relish, especially back in the old cloth diaper days when we had to clean them out, swish them in the toilet, and put them in the dirty clothes or the diaper pail. And then you were also good about being willing to do the laundry, even the smelly stuff.
Well, I think I appreciated that we could each bring our strengths to the partnership, and we could each pursue the things that we felt we were good at, that we enjoyed doing. I think that was critical. Now, you also taught me, I learned from you, how to be an involved citizen. I remember that you would research. You would really become familiar with the candidates and their platforms, with any legislation that was being considered. You would research many sources and learn more than just the rhetoric that was commonly heard. And I also remember being able to talk over issues with you. I remember there'd be times when you would tell me the candidate you were voting for and explain why you were voting for them. And then you would listen very respectfully while I told you about my candidate and why I wanted to vote for them. We would respect each other in our right to vote our conscience. And then we would go to the polls and cancel each other out with no argument, no bitterness. That was okay. Do you remember that?
I remember it happened sometimes, but I think for the most part, we did agree on most things. So usually when we would go to the polls, because of our discussions, we ended up supporting the same causes and people. So I don't think that it was necessarily you're one party and I'm the other party, and ne'er the twain shall meet. So,
but individual differences were allowed.
Absolutely, it's always imperative to do that.
I appreciated that. I have also appreciated the way you are always willing to help. I've seen many times when you're there to volunteer, you're noticing when maybe someone's struggling with loading their groceries at the grocery store, and you're always willing to help other people. And I think that's a good quality, and I've appreciated learning more about that from you.
And I've appreciated how supportive you've been when those things would happen. I remember one time we were coming back and saw a car that was stopped in the middle of the road, not going anywhere. I could tell that the guy had problems. And I just looked at you, so I got out, and you switched over to the driver's seat and took over the driving of our car. And I went back and helped the gentleman push his car out of the middle of the intersection where we could address what was wrong with his car. And you've always been very supportive in me doing stuff like that.
That feels good, when we're working together as a team and we just seem to know what we need to do. I like that. I think they call that synergy.
Yep. And you've been a very good partner in doing things of that nature. You've also been very supportive as I've become interested in building a business and getting interested in real estate and some self-improvement things, and you've joined me in some of it, and you've supported me in other things, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to tell you that I have watched you through many years, not only watching and caring for our children, but caring for the budget and making sure that we met our obligations with bills and making sure we saved a bit for the future. I have watched you as you have become involved with our church and neighborhood community efforts to watch out for those around us, to observe needs when somebody needed a hug or a hand, or perhaps even some money or other assistance. You were observant of those things, and either you got involved and did it yourself if it was something you could do, or you brought it to my attention so that we could powwow and see if there was something we could do together.
Well, it feels great to be part of a team. Thank you so much. I love you, and I'm very grateful for you.
And I'm very grateful for you. My life wouldn't be nearly as complete if I had to live it without you.
Well, thanks, hon. So, many things that we can learn from our spouses, and maybe that's why men and women are different.
Yep. Henry Higgins' question about why can't a woman be more like a man is really crazy.
All right. Well, thank you, honey, and hope everyone out there has a great day.